The Security Council passed a resolution to hold an emergency session of the 193-member General Assembly on Russia's invasion on Monday. While Ukraine fights on, Russia is facing severe economic challenges and other pressures. Its president has ordered Russian nuclear deterrent forces to be put on high alert. The alert means that Russia's nuclear weapons are prepared for readiness to launch. Amid the alarming developments, Ukraine and Russian officials will meet at the Belarus border. Although Ukrainian President Zelensky didn't appear too hopeful, nevertheless, he agreed to give it a chance. Meanwhile, the European Union said it will finance and deliver weapons and other equipments to Ukraine. But it is on the ground that the real picture seems miles away from these conference rooms. Russian forces are bombarding the Ukrainian capital Kiev. Videos shared by the Ukrainians show the grim picture of devastation, people making petrol bombs to fight against a mighty enemy. On the borders, in addition to the human enemy, people are fighting bitter cold in order to get away from Russian shelling. They are being welcomed and given shelter now, but as the influx grows, the situation could well change. Bureau Report, Sunset TV.
Meanwhile, Europe and Canada are closing their airspace to Russian airlines, increasing pressure also on the United States to do the same. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the European Union will close its airspace to aircraft owned, registered or controlled by Russians, including private jets of the oligarchs. Canada said its country is holding Russia accountable for the unprovoked attack on its neighbour. The Russian invasion of Ukraine entered its fifth day today. Let's look at the actions and the sanctions that various countries have been imposing on Moscow. The United States and its allies moved to block the access for some Russian banks to the SWIFT international payment system. The action ensures that Moscow's banks are disconnected from the international financial system and harm their ability to operate globally. Wider restrictions were imposed on semiconductors, telecommunication, encryption, security, lasers, sensors, also navigation, avionics and maritime technologies. The European Union also agreed to the SWIFT sanctions. In addition, it is freezing European assets of Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. But the EU has not curbed Russian energy imports. It has also not curbed travel for Putin, saying it will hamper diplomatic measures to end the crisis. While Japan is including financial institutions and military equipment exports in its list of sanctions as well, it has said an impact on its energy supply is unlikely. Tokyo will also halt exports of military-use goods such as semiconductors. South Africa is also banning exports of strategic items. It is joining Western countries' moves to block some Russian banks from the SWIFT international payment system. The Korean government also decided to review other measures like the resale of LNG to Europe. UK's largest ever package of sanctions against Russia targeted its banks, members of Putin's closest circle and wealthy Russians who enjoy high-rolling lifestyles in London. The British government said it will impose an asset freeze on major Russian banks, including state-owned VTB, its second biggest bank, and also stop major Russian companies from raising finances in the UK. Canada targeted 62 Russian individuals and entities, including members of the elite and major banks, and also cancelled all export permits. The sanctions will target the Russian Security Council, including the Defense Minister, the Finance Minister, and the Justice Minister of the country. The Czech Republic has banned Russian airlines from flying to the Central European country and is also speeding up its exit from two international banks set up in the Soviet era. Taiwan, the world's largest contract chip maker, said it would comply with all export control rules as well. Australia also imposed more sanctions on Russia, targeting several of its elite citizens and lawmakers, and said it was unacceptable that China was easing trade restrictions with Moscow at a time when it has invaded Ukraine. New Zealand has imposed travel bans on Russia and prohibited trade to its military and security forces. 4 senior ministers are flying to Ukraine's border nations to coordinate the evacuation of Indian students. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting with top ministers and officials this morning on the Ukraine crisis and also the Indians who are trying to leave Ukraine. Union ministers Hardeep Singh Puri, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Kiren Rijiju and VK Singh will be traveling to these countries surrounding Ukraine as special envoys of India to help with the evacuation procedure. Jyotiraditya Scindia will look after Romania and Moldova. Kiran Rijiju will fly to Slovakia. Hardeep Singh Puri will go to Hungary, and VK Singh will be in Poland. On Sunday evening, Prime Minister Modi met Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla, also Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba, among others. He said the safe evacuation of Indian students is right now a priority. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Monday said the government is closely watching the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict on India's foreign trade, particularly farm sector exports. In a post-budget interaction with business and industry leaders in Tamil Nadu, she added that since Ukraine is a major supplier of sunflower oil seeds and fertilizers, a disruption in supply could impact essential commodities like edible oil.
We are rightly worried about what comes from there, but I'm more worried, if not equally, more worried about what's going to happen to our exporters who are doing very well, particularly the farmer sector to Russia and Ukraine. But you can be assured that we are fairly seized of the matter in its granular form, because it's going to have an impact on the essentials which come, like edible oils, which come from Ukraine, sunflower oil, and so on. So, yes, parts of the fertilizer and so on. So, the discussions are on between ministries.